All right. Hello and welcome to the Killing Time with Arch podcast, the show that's all about your favorite and soon to be new favorite TikTok creators. My guest today goes by Cigar Box Scott, and he's a talented musician who has been playing his cigar box guitar a lot lately. And he specializes in old time bluegrass and folk and traditional music, or whatever you want to call it, which I'll talk with him more about. And he plays right here in the Dayton area. So join me as I talk with him more about his instruments and his music in just a moment. Well, hello and welcome to the show. Thanks so much for coming on and talking with me today.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me, Arch. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess just to start off, I have to say I've loved cigar box instruments for a while now, and I've just always thought that they were really cool. So I'm curious, what made you want to start playing that in the first place?
Yeah, I've played lots of other instruments over the years, and just picked this up recently. A friend of mine gave it to me.
Oh, yeah.
He had the guy who made it as a friend of his, and they traded guitars. And my friend decided he didn't want to play it, and said, "I know somebody who probably would like to play that," and gave it to me. And it just stuck. Like the stuff I like to do, the kind of music I like to play, it just immediately transferred to this, and I've been loving it. It's really fun.
Well, yeah, because I almost kind of thought they were just kind of gimmicks really for a while, and I never really heard anybody play them like, really, really well like that. So so you haven't been playing them that long, right?
Yeah, no, it's been not quite 2 years actually.
Okay.
But it's been a little bit less than that. Usually you hear them like you said, people are selling them at craft festivals, and it's mostly the people who make them, right? But there's this whole community I've discovered since picking this up of builders and players, and they're super active on social media. There's 20 or 50 groups maybe. There's a ton of them, and there's little festivals around the country, and there's definitely a whole culture about it. It's been really fun getting into it because I didn't know anything about it.
Well, and what other instruments do you normally play before you got into the
So right now, I play in a band here in Dayton called the Barnharts, and I play lap steel guitar with them, kind of like the country sound, the slide guitar. And I have adapted this into the band a bit. And I used to be a bass player. That was my first instrument. And then I play guitar, and I play a tiny little bit of mandolin and banjo. Not great, but a little bit. Things like that. But steel and slide guitar is what I mostly play in groups and things like that.
Nice. Okay. Well, I did my Spotify Wrapped recently, like everybody did probably, and I got a lot of stomp and holler as my top genre, which kind of surprised me. I didn't realize I listened to that much of it, and I also honestly didn't realize it was like that was a style or a genre, to be honest. So I'm curious, like what else I don't know about it. So maybe I'm wondering if you can play, or maybe explain a little bit about the style of music you like to play, and feel free to play it if you want to demonstrate.
Okay, yeah, I'd be happy to do that. So what I like to do mostly is I like to take like old folk songs and traditional songs, and then I like to tweak them, like give them my own kind of spin. And I definitely like things. It's funny, like you, with a heavy beat, a good drive, and so you can't see it on screen, but I actually have a piece of wood at my feet here that I put a microphone into, and I hook it up to an amplifier to give it just a little bit extra beat. So then I become like a one-man band.
Nice.
And so what I like to do is I'll give you an example. I take, let's say, a bluegrass song. I love bluegrass and old-time music, but I like mine with a little more something behind it. So anyway, so you take a song like, if you've ever heard of a popular bluegrass song, it's called Darling Corey. And if you were going to hear it, bluegrass style would go like, look away, darling Corey. Look away from my bed. Corn liquor done ruin my body. Pretty woman done ruin my head. So then the way I do it on this is I'll go. Wake up, darling Corey. How can you sleep so sound? Them brave new officers are coming to take your still house down. So I like to, make them live a little bit.
I love that sound. That's so cool.
Thanks.
Um,
Appreciate it.
and well, and I should mention too, you've been in this world for a while now. I've learned. So you've literally written the book on bluegrass and old time music, and then you were the editor for a while of Sing Out magazine. So
Right.
I would love to hear your perspective on kind of why that style of music's uniquely American, or what is it that you love about it, maybe. And
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a great question. So I think one of the things I love about folk music is that it evolves, and that's one of the things that I feel like I'm doing. I believe that traditional music and folk music, which folk music means music of the people, right? It's songs that people sing, and it evolves with the times. And once recorded music started in the 20s or 30s, we got this freeze because we heard of what it sounded like at that time period. Right. So a lot of people play traditional music the way it was originally recorded when recordings first happened. But traditional music evolves over the years. One song I play, Gallows Pole, it's like Led Zeppelin did it. Like that has roots to like medieval Europe. And obviously it didn't sound back then like the way, Led Zeppelin did it. And it was done by blues guys in the US. And so what I love about it is that it's things that have been around for a long time, but it keeps changing. I think that's really cool. I love to do that. I think it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I know that you kind of love to play traditional music, but with your own spin. So I'm wondering, how would you describe maybe what your particular style is, or what influences it in particular?
Yeah. So I guess if you had to pin me down, I'd say it's roots music, whatever that means. It's inspired by the tradition, but definitely with blues and rock sort of undertones, right? Because I like that beat, the drive underneath it. So and the way that I play, I'll take the songs and I'll either slow them down, speed them up. I like to put a hook to them. So like that Darwin Corey I played, just sort of it gives it a little bit more than just playing straight chords, just strum. And so that's what I like to do with it. And what I like about old time songs, old time like Appalachian kind of songs, is they've already evolved, right? You'll hear recordings of someone singing it a cappella. You'll hear a bluegrass band do it, and you'll hear a lot of blues guys do old time country songs as well, which I always thought was cool.
Yeah.
Where there's like, African American tradition of it, and then the Southern tradition and this, and they're the same songs, they're just done differently.
Right. Yeah, I used to teach U.S. history, and I one time wanted to try to like put together a unit on kind of just bluegrass or traditional music, just because I feel like there's so many different influences that people don't even realize are in there, and instruments and styles from so many different places already. So I always thought that's so cool about it. But I quickly got in over my head with the research. So.
I get that. Well, when you were talking about what makes it American, I think what makes it American is like you're talking about, it's that amalgam. It's the fact that we have all these styles. Just what makes our country great in general is the influences from all the people. Like, the banjo, I got one up here. It's an African instrument.
Right, yeah.
It was a gourd instrument that now is, when you think of banjos, you think of bluegrass or country music. And, that's not its origin. Right. But you wouldn't have that music without it. I think that's cool.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, I want to go back to the instrument that you're playing in particular for a second, because I'm wondering, how hard are these things to make? Because I love cigars and guitars.
And it's a good combination, man.
Yeah, so
if you can make guitars out of beer bottles, I'd be set.
Yeah, there you go.
So I can tell you a little bit about it. So I did not make this one, like I said. This was a gift. But this is actually a cigar box. I don't know how well you can see it there.
Oh, yeah, okay.
It had 25 Padron executives in it at one point, whatever that means. So what they do is they'll take the box, and this one I have locked right now. I have it screwed shut, but you can open them. Almost all cigar box guitars, not all, but most, are amplified because they don't have a real loud acoustic sound. This one's a little different though. First of all, it's a much bigger box than most cigar boxes, and in it there's a resonator. It's like a paint can lid that's put into, like, you ever see like a dobro or some kind of like steel guitar with a big metal hubcap?
Right. Yeah.
It has that on it. So if I turn this amp off for a second, it has a pretty decent acoustic sound. So it's not too bad.
Right.
But there's not a lot to resonate in here if you don't build something like that.
Yeah, but that's a paint can lid, you said?
Yeah. And
That's
I've seen them too with like dog bowls and things like that in them.
Wow.
Because then the sound bounces around in there. And there's not that much for it to bounce around in a cigar box. This one's a 4-string. Not usually, but a lot of them are 3 strings. This one has an extra string, which gives it a full chord. A lot of them are just 3, which gives it a little bit more of a bluesy kind of sound, which is why you often see people playing blues on these things.
Okay.
I've seen people make them out of cigar boxes. I've seen them make guitars like this out of shovels. One time I saw Rev Payton play an axe. There's lots of cool stuff like that. And then there's 6-string cigar box guitars. There's cigar box basses. There's ukuleles. Like I said, if it's something you're interested in, homemade instruments, there's a whole culture you can get involved in. It's pretty neat.
Well, that was going to be my next question, I guess, was about the stringing. And I guess that maybe cigar box is more about how or what it's made out of than like how it's stringed. Is that accurate? Or
yeah, probably. I think that's fair. And this is tuned open. So I tuned mine to an open E. So it's E, B, E, G sharp. So it makes a full chord. A lot of them are tuned to open G as well, which is pretty common. So it's similar to a banjo. The banjo strings are in slightly different order, but it's similar. And in fact, you asked me about my playing style, and I do a lot of stuff the same way I play the banjo. And I don't play the banjo well, but I do try to apply some of that to here. And what I'll do too is to change the key, because you're always in the same key, is I'll use a capo just to bring it up a different key or whatever. And then a lot of people that you'll often see is they'll use a slide.
Oh, yeah, nice.
I use a slide. I don't use it as often because I'm playing kind of a different style of music. This is a glass slide. I have a brass one as well, and there's all kinds of ones out there, and it just gives it a different sound, like. So you see a lot of, it's pretty fun to play like that too.
Yeah, it sounds like instantly more bluesy now.
Yeah,
I love that.
And some of the ones, they make them where the action, the distance between the string and the fretboard is real high. So a lot of guys play with slide almost all the time.
Nice.
Yeah, it's fun to play for sure. It changes the way, like you said, the way it sounds. Fun.
Sounds so cool. I love that sounds. Maybe getting back to kind of more traditional or folk music or whatever you want to call it. I'm curious, you mentioned it's always evolving. So who are some of maybe the older traditional artists you like to listen to? And then what are some newer artists that you enjoy?
Yeah.
Or maybe your influences even.
Yeah. So I actually grew up in a household of folkies. And what's funny is I wasn't interested in it as like a kid, middle schooler. I was listening to heavy metal and stuff. But then I went with my parents to the Philadelphia Folk Festival. I grew up out east, and instantly kind of like got sucked in. But I really love Leadbelly. Of course, I like Bob Dylan. Not everybody does, but I like Bob Dylan.
Sure.
Real traditional stuff. I mean, that's a great question. Now I got to think about who I listen to. On the blues side, I really like John Lee Hooker. I really like Junior Kimbrough, if you've ever heard him. And then, on like the whatever you'll call the folk side of it, I've listened to tons of John Prine. Not that he's really a traditional player, but I love the sound that he plays.
I've
Uh,
been into him a lot recently. I love John Prine.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I've seen him on. He's somebody when I first got into it, I was like sold on John Prine. I mean, what's funny is I'm going to listen to this when we're done, and I'm going to go, oh man, I missed this guy, and I missed this guy, and I missed this guy.
Right.
One of the first, I'll tell you a couple of the first albums I got. They're still some of my favorites. Mississippi John Hurt, if you know him. Pete Seeger, for sure. Love Pete Seeger. I got to know Pete Seeger when I was working at Sing Out Magazine, so that was a cool thing.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
That was really neat. But yeah, there's just so many over the years that I've listened to. And as far as new artists, I feel like in the last 10 years, independent music has had a renaissance. Since streaming, you now have an since YouTube and all, you have an outlet for these people who before you're lucky if you got on public radio for 1 hour a week or whatever. But man, I've listened to so much great music over the last bunch of years. I've discovered so many really cool artists. I think I mentioned him earlier, but if you're into this kind of thing, especially the blues thing, there's a guy out there named Rev Payton. He's a guitar whiz, and he plays 6-string, but he plays a lot of cigar box guitar as well.
Nice.
And he plays like super crazy kind of stuff. I listen to a lot of different stuff. I like a band called Watch House. They used to be Mandolin Orange. I like a lot of country music, like real country music.
Right.
Not what they play on the radio. I've been listening to a woman there named Nikki Lane. I really like her. But you name it. I mean, I love bands like the Lumineers. I've seen Charlie Crockett a couple of times over the last couple of years. He's really great. Nice. There's so much great music out there, I think, these days that I've really been enjoying it a lot, actually.
Well, and speaking of other bands, and you mentioned the Barnharts a little bit earlier, but maybe you could tell us a little bit more about them and what kind of stuff you guys do together.
So I'm in a trio called the Barnharts with John and Cindy Treasure. They're a married couple, and I joined them right before the world fell apart. It was like the very end of 2019, beginning of 2020. It was funny. So I live in Troy, and they were playing at Troy's Porch Fest. And I had gotten to the point where like my kids were older now. I wanted to get back into music, and I heard this band. I really enjoyed them. So I went and asked them if they want to jam sometime. And they were kind of like, oh, well, maybe. Send us your email. So then like 3 or 4 months later, they got back to me and said, hey, our guitar player is moving to the Netherlands. Do you want to get together and play music? Well, yeah. So we play, and John writes all the songs, they're original songs, and they are like neo-folky with kind of like a bluegrass country kind of thing underneath. So I play the steel guitar, Cindy plays the upright bass, John plays guitar and sings, and plays harmonica. And it's a great time. In fact, we're going to play the Dayton Battle of the Bands this year at the Bright Side. So
nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, it should be really fun. Which I went to a few of those contests last year. Really fun, great venue, cool bands. Dayton's got a pretty good music scene. For being a small city, it's great. I
think it really does, especially since the Bright Side came around. Because I know there used to be. I'm sure you probably played at Canal Street Tavern back in the day.
I've been there. I never did get to play there, but I have been there for sure.
Yeah, now I think it's pretty cool. I think for sure. So, well, I'm curious what other gigs that you might have coming up, because I think you're going to be at, is it Yellow Cab soon?
Yeah, so Yellow Cab does a showcase on Thursday nights, which is a great place to see new local music. By the way, it's really fun. The guy who runs it, Windsor, does a great job. So I'm going to play there on January 4th. And then a couple days later, I'm going to be down at the Leo Coffee House, which is a part of Queen City Balladeers, which is the Cincinnati Folk Music Society. So cool. They do a concert every Sunday night.
Wow.
So I'm going to be down there playing. There's 3 different bands that night. One of them is the headliner is Mike Oberst. He's lead singer of the Tillers. So he'll be playing that night. And then I did. I am going to be playing at the Central Ohio Folk Music Festival this summer. I should say May, which is in Columbus, and that's part of
Oh,
the
it's in
Columbus
Columbus?
Folk Music Society. So
Oh, okay. Very cool.
yeah,
I've never been to one of those. I'm curious, like, are those, how long are those typically? Those few
it's
days?
a 2 day festival. It's not like it's not a camping one, but
Okay.
it's held at a park in Columbus, and it should be a great event. They're a cool organization too. You know, they do monthly concerts. And they
Right.
do sing-alongs and jams, and they're dedicated to keeping the music going. And so I think it's cool. You know, for me living in Dayton, I can go down to Cincinnati to their stuff. I can go over to Columbus. There's just a lot happening, which is neat. That if you look for it, it's there.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I would, love to hear maybe anything that you might be playing at one of those upcoming shows that you
Okay.
might want to share with us if you'd like.
All right. Yeah. I'll do one. So I'll play you my one and only hit. And by hit, I mean it has my most YouTube likes. So there you go. Whatever
Okay.
that means. This is well, I discovered that, I play blues songs, I play bluegrass the whole time, but I play a lot of gospel songs,
Oh, yeah.
which, it's a type of folk music, right? And that's one that actually has evolved a lot.
Mhm.
Again, multicultural, but this is actually not just a gospel song, it's a spiritual.
Okay.
And the definition of a spiritual is that it's about freedom,
I
right?
gotcha.
There's a lot of code in there about the African American experience. You'll notice most spirituals mention Moses and
Hmm.
things like that around freedom and captivity. So this song's called "Wade in the Water,"
Okay. Nice.
uh, and yeah, we'll do that. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble water. Look at those people all dressed in red. Wade in the water. Look like the people that Moses led. God's gonna trouble water. I said, wait in the water. I said, wait in the water. Children, wait in the water. God's gonna trouble water. Look at those people all dressed in white. Wait in the water. They look like those Israelites. God's gonna trouble water. I said, wait in the water. I said, wait in the water. Children, wait in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. Wait in the water. Wait in the water, children. Wait in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. I said God's gonna trouble the water. I said God's gonna trouble the water. I said God's gonna trouble the water.
Nice, man. That's awesome. I love that.
Thank you.
It's such a cool sound, especially with the slide and everything. I love that.
It's fun, and I'll tell you what's really fun is sit in the basement and crank up like the distortion on the guitar. Because
Hmm.
I'm somebody who like always played acoustic instruments, and I used to think that you had to play them traditional way, and now it's funny. As older I get, the more electric I get,
Interesting.
and it's fun to like sit in there and crank up the distortion and play with delays, and it's fun. It's really fun.
Awesome. I love it. I may have to get one now. That sounds pretty
I
cool.
I recommend it. I mean, it's just to mess around with. In fact, I got it. I should have brought it in the studio. I didn't. It's downstairs, but I got a new one for Christmas.
Oh,
Uh, my mom bought me one.
sweet.
Yeah, because she's cool like that,
Yeah.
and it's different. It's a smaller size. It has a different tuning. It's tuned to open G, and yeah, it's fun. It's been really fun to do. I'll tell you what else is fun is playing gospel songs in bars.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
I play a lot of bars around here, and opening up a set with a gospel song, man, it works. It's great. People love it. They get excited about it. Plus, you can do jokes about sinners and bars and stuff like that.
Right. Sure.
But yeah, no, gospel music seems to be, you don't have to be a religious person to like gospel music. There's
Oh,
something
no, it's true.
spiritual
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, no, I definitely there's some songs that I like to play and stuff, and it's kind of funny you mentioned the bars because I don't know if they still do it. I have to check it out, but Trolley Stop, I think every week maybe
Okay.
they used to have like a just a bluegrass kind of jam session that people could
Oh,
go
that'd
to.
be cool.
Yeah, but I don't know if they still have it going on or not,
Hmm.
but I was trying to go to that for a little while, and I would
Yeah.
play the like two songs that I could stick with them.
You
But
play the mandolin, right?
I try, yeah. I can
Okay.
play. I know more chords on guitar. It's really just knowing chords. So,
That's
but
cool.
my favorite was I have a banjolele that I got from a like actually it was down in Carolina that I got it, but I it's just doesn't hold a tune very well. And so I've got somebody working on it right now. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping that it kind of is able to because I mean you'll just literally like you'll just watch the keys turn back after you put it into position. So,
That's fine.
but hopefully he can help me out there. But yeah, I love this sound. So I might have to try to either get or make one of these someday.
Yeah. Well, and there's kits out there. There's companies that sell kits, and here in
Nice.
Dayton, there's several builders. One guy I've run into at a lot of open mics, and in fact, I played a CD release party this fall. Was Max Green? He's
Okay.
a builder, and then I ran into a couple other guys, and it's definitely a thing. And you can see there's all these different variations of first time kind of builders and like premier luthiers.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah. I
it's
actually
fun. I wish I could do it myself, but I
really
don't have
do.
that skill.
I'm yeah, maybe one day I'll try to venture into that world. We'll see. Uh,
My woodworking stops at building a box that I can step on. Like
there
that
you
was
go.
it. I did
Well,
that
that's
last
good.
winter. That was fun, but it took it would take most people like an hour to build it. It took me like 4 weeks to put it together.
Hey, there's no time limit. That's all good. Well, if people want to hear more, where all could people find you online as well? If they want to listen to some more.
Yeah, so I've got a website, cigarboxscott.com, and I'm on I think all of the social media platforms, or most of them, the big ones.
All right.
And it's on all of those. I'm at Cigar Box Scott, which makes it
Nice.
real easy because there's no
Mhm.
one else out there like that. I have discovered there's a cigar box guy, so that's why
Okay.
I'm Cigar Box Scott. I'm
There
on
you
YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. So you can find me on those. If anybody wants to reach out to me from any of those platforms, first of all, I love to talk about music. Obviously, I love to play music. I'm looking for gigs. It's been really fun to get back into music, and take too much, but with my kids getting old and not wanting to hang out with me anymore, I've gotten
go.
back into playing music, and that's great. It was great raising kids, and now it's fun to get back to this. So,
Nice.
and for me, it's fun. It's not my job. I have a job, so I look at the idea if I could drive out to a music festival anywhere, and it would become a vacation to play there.
Right. Yeah.
So it's really fun. So I'd love to hear from people, and I've met a lot of cool people already, yourself included. So I appreciate how you support the music, by the way.
Oh yeah. Well, I just like a chance to get to talk to musicians. So, I appreciate it too. So
It
thank
is
you.
fun. It is
Yeah.
fun.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on the
Yeah,
show and everything too. I really appreciate it. So
yeah. Well, I appreciate you having me, and thanks so much. And I hope to see some of your listeners out there in the social sphere.
yeah, absolutely. Well, if you want, you're welcome to play us out, and I can because I can never figure out how my theme song works with this new program, anyways. But
Yeah, yeah, I could definitely do that. I'll play it out, and then you fade me or something.
yeah, and I'll just do my little
Whatever.
outro too.
This is a song about moonshine. It's called the Moonshine. I've been a moonshiner for 17 long years. I spent all my money on whiskey and beer. God bless a moonshiner. I wish he were mine. His breath is as sweet as that good old moonshine. I'll eat when I'm hungry and drink when I'm dry. If the whiskey don't kill me, I'll live until I die. I've been a moonshiner. I wish he were mine. His breath is as sweet as that good old moonshine. I'll go to some grocery and I'll drink with my friends. I don't have no lady to see what I spend. God bless the moonshiner. I wish he were mine. His breath is as sweet. His breath is as sweet as that good old moonshine.
Nice, thanks, man. Sounds awesome.
Welcome. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that was my interview with Scott, aka Cigar Box Scott, on TikTok and elsewhere. And if you want to see him playing live, he's going to be at the Yellow Cab on January 4th, so you won't want to miss that. Be sure to check him out. You will not regret it. And that's it for today's show. So if you'd like to learn more about me, your host, you can also visit GemCityJudasPriest.com, where you can learn more about everything that I can do for you, ranging from helping you travel to Bosnia to officiating your wedding or mediating your divorce, whatever you need. So thanks so much for listening. Take care, everyone.